Hey guys, welcome back to Around the Campfire with AmeriCamp, the ultimate summer camp podcast. I'm Jen and I'm here with Rob today. How
Hello,
fun.
everyone.
Today we're going to be chatting about underprivileged camps. I think this is a topic that, again, quite like special needs, a lot of people don't really have a
Yeah.
lot of information
hmm
about. They get quite intimidated putting out their applications.
Yeah.
And you're an amazing example of someone who has experienced this firsthand, so it's great to
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes. So, sort of to start off, when I first signed up for AmeriCamp all the way back in 2017, makes me feel old when I say that. Underprivileged camp wasn't a area I knew a lot about personally until I sort of got prompted by a member of the AmeriCamp team, sort of look into it a bit more, consider the options. And then I went to an AmeriCamp camp fair, which we'll probably cover in another episode. Fantastic events as always. And the camp I ended up going to was there. So I went to Camp de Mars, which is a part of the Fresh Air Fund in New York. The
Amazing.
Fresh Air Fund is a charity that's been going for like 150 years at this point, and it's dedicated to serving the underprivileged children of New York, which
Amazing.
really appealed to me. So when I got to the camp fair, literally went straight to their booth, spoke to them for 5 minutes, and then walked out of the job offer 5 minutes after that. And
Amazing.
then since then, I was just sort of researching the camp, going into the history about what they did, and it got me more and more excited to work with underprivileged or underserved communities and children before I actually went to camp.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think a lot of people don't realise that obviously summer camp is an institution in the US, so camps have been going for, as you say, like
Years,
hundreds
years
of
and years,
years,
yeah.
and there's so many different types, and obviously underprivileged a lot of the time are connected to like charities. It comes from giving equal opportunities to children that come from underprivileged backgrounds,
Yeah.
and again, some kind of children, as far as I'm aware, kind of come out of like the care system and
Yeah.
things like that. So I think it's fantastic to make sure that they have an environment that they get to be
Yeah.
kids and enjoy themselves and really experience that kind of summer just like
We-
everyone else. And it's a great opportunity to do that. So I
No,
think that's
no, yeah,
amazing.
definitely. So one of the things that when I first got to an underprivileged camp, it's easy to think of these kids who are underserved, underprivileged, sort of seeing them as, it sounds bad, it's like a charity case. But
Yeah.
when a kid gets to summer camp, they're just a kid. It doesn't matter the background, and that's what the good thing of working at underprivileged camp is that you can take a child that might be from less than ideal circumstances, put them in a summer camp, and it gives them the opportunity just to be a kid without any sort of outside factors, restrictions, or anything that can cause them issues after that. So in terms of working at underprivileged camp, it did work basically the same as what you would class as a traditional summer camp. The only difference was that we sort of the campers only stayed for 2 weeks and then they went home and a new set of campers came. This was sort of one of the pillars, I guess, of working at underprivileged camp, is that they wanted to get as many children to have a summer camp experience as possible. So it was fantastic that I got to meet even more children and campers that got to sort of embrace summer camp, have this experience, and then sort of take it with them after that. So
So was it a day camp and an overnight camp that
it
you
was
did?
just an overnight camp.
Okay.
Again, they did. I remember when I actually was there was the option discussing of it being a day camp, but they were very keen to just get campers sort of completely into this new environment and completely embracing every aspect of it. A lot of the campers that I worked with, they sort of came from inner city New York, so like Harlem, the Bronx, sort of less affluent areas. Most of them had never left inner city New York. Most of them had never
Really?
seen a tree before, or like, a tree, that sounds a bit harsh, but never seen forests or lakes or just like nature. So making it overnight camp, making it a very, again, traditional summer camp experience of you're
Village,
staying in a
yeah.
log cabin, you're going to have a campfire, you're going to do songs and stuff. It was sort of, when I spoke to the campers, it was stuff they've maybe seen on TV or in the media.
Which is exactly the
Yeah.
same for us, which I think is great because it's like every person from the UK is like, we've never done summer camp before. I think that's like a really
Yeah.
endearing thing about underprivileged camps, in that you're almost going to have a sort of mirrored experience,
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely.
regardless of if they do have quite difficult backstories. But in terms of experiencing summer camp for the first time,
Yeah.
I think that's so amazing that you're kind of
was.
exactly the same as your campers,
Yeah.
and you're all so excited.
That's what I mean. I was just as wild as the campers going to see the big lake for the first time as they were. But yeah, that was sort of, again, another great point of working on the privileged camp is that you get to sort of share these first time experiences with the campers. Like I said, the campers, some of them have never left New York before, never been to camp before. So when they were sort of walking into a new activity, such as one of the unique things at my camp is that we had a farm. With like cows and sheep and pigs and
Oh my
bees and a
goodness.
garden and
I
stuff.
love that.
And it was fun. Like, I'm from a farming community in the UK, so I was quite used to it. But going with these campers to the farm, some of them, again, had never seen a cow before or a
And
pig
even
before.
just as New York, like I feel like
Yeah,
it's
New York
so
is
built up. Like,
amazing city. No, there's not a farm in the middle of Manhattan, you know what I mean? It's quite different from that. So
yeah.
it was those moments of being like going around the garden and helping the campers just sort of, I about to say meet a pig. You get what I mean? meet a pig, interact with a piglet, sort of learn about it. Sort of even going into like a garden where they're growing fresh produce like cucumbers and tomatoes and whatever else, and sort of getting them to experience that. Those, when they got to camp, they weren't expecting that. So when we turned up at the farm, they were amazed by it, and a lot of them came away with more fascination on like where does their food come from, nature, and those are the opportunities that definitely wouldn't have been given to them in their current circumstances. And that's, again, to speak to underprivileged camps. My camp also had a bit of an educational element to it. So the campers had the opportunity to work on certain school subjects such as like maths or English, which they could use to go back to school afterwards. One of the things on the privileged camp is that these campers, they might not work as well in the school system as other campers do or other children do. So some camp allow them an environment to be like you're in a classroom, but it's a fun classroom. This is a classroom where once you've done this math problem, let's go and swim for an hour in a lake. So that really did help as well in they got the fun of summer camp, but they also got practical educational benefits they could take to school afterwards. And it really did help them in their development of that as well. So yeah, again, underprivileged camps, fantastic in that it offers these opportunities that a traditional summer camp or other types of summer camp might not be able to, in that it goes sort of every aspect of the child in this new environment. So
it does remind me of, just speaking with you, it does remind me of special needs in the sense that the kids and the campers often just need a kind of more one-on-one sometimes, like if they've had like a bit of a hard upbringing, if they're finding it difficult going through the kind of school system, if they're feeling a bit lost, I think camp is a perfect opportunity to obviously just kind of let go and sort of have that sort of escapism, but at the same time like feel really valued and be able to kind of speak one-on-one with the international staff, with the Americans, and really feel appreciated. And I think that's an amazing thing that they're able to offer that obviously other camps do, but it within their circumstances I feel it's really
definitely important. That was again, it's sort of another pillar of the underprivileged camp, was the fact that these campers in their home lives might not have had like direct one-to-one personal contact with adults as much. So the fact you're able to sort of dedicate time, listen to them, listen to their problems, and again sort of just listening to them was the big thing, because they might be from a household where it's only a single parent, there's a lot of kids. Obviously, these circumstances do affect the one-on-one time they might be able to have with adults like sort of dedicated to them. So being able to like just take them out to the porch, play a board game, listen to them, they really love that one-on-one time of just an adult doing all they can to make sure they were happy and they were thriving in that environment. And that's sort of what led to my favourite moments at camp, was when we sort of had like a breakthrough of a camp, and maybe they came to summer camp. It's overwhelming, especially if you've never left New York before, to have a northeast boy just speak to you.
And Geordie just like telling you what to do.
Most of them admitted to the end they could not understand me, but that's a separate issue. And then, just like, it's a new environment, like it is a lot for them to take in, but give it, a few days, they really opened up to us, and you were able to see the influence on them, especially when I went back my second year. We did have returning campers.
I was going to just ask you that, if you had returners.
No, yeah, definitely. And there's this one example of this one kid that was in my cabin, quietest kid, didn't say a word, homesick first few days. Me and the other counsellors sort of like did our best to encourage him into activities through the educational programs, and he loved camp by the end of his time there. Amazing. He didn't want to say goodbye, he wrote us all letters. He actually wrote us a letter like later on in the summer that I got to be like, really miss you guys in the counsellors, I wish I was back at camp. Then he came back the following summer, ended up in my cabin again.
Oh my god, I would have been so gassed.
It was honestly like, when I saw him at the check-in, it was like a reunion, like running across from each other to say hello.
I love that.
It was so great, and just to see the development of that kid, from the kid that first came into my cabin first summer to this confident kid, and then he was able to tell me about what he had learned at summer camp and taken to his life after that. A big one was swimming. So a lot of the underprivileged children that didn't have the access to, obviously being in New York, there's not a lot of, you're not going to swim in the Hudson River. There wasn't a lot of like natural water.
If anyone's like travelling after camp,
please don't do that.
Want to swim in the Hudson River, please don't do that.
Not too, please, not the nicest. But they didn't have access to pools. Swimming wasn't taught in schools. It wasn't something they had. So I remember this kid again, terrified of the lake, like would dip his toe in and run away.
Oh, bless.
And then he came back the second summer and he was a better swimmer than me.
Amazing.
So it's those examples of, and he also had swim lessons and joined like a swim team and stuff since being at camp and like really developed that. And it's those skills that like that's going to stay with him for the rest of his life, hopefully, and that he's going to take it away, and hopefully he can think back to, I had this amazing experience at my summer camp and these camps was really invested in me and this has paid off in my future development.
And I think from like a personal development side of things, like if I had that moment seeing, obviously from special needs we had this aspect as well of like seeing the impact from like the start till the end of summer, and obviously you can speak on kind of having returned the next year and kind of seeing that as well, but I think it would just completely transform my like valued work and feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm changing people's lives. Like it's cheesy to say, but it's so true. I think in that circumstance specifically, like it's such an amazing feeling to see that transformation if they do come back the following year or like later on in the summer. So I think that's amazing.
No, definitely. That was again one of the main elements when I mentioned before I spoke to the AmeriCamp staff member. They sort of did emphasize that point of it of like you are going to have a massive direct impact on these kids' lives, which obviously when you go to camp you do with every kid, but when it's a kid that's just been
like been through a lot, like some of the backstories of these children were not the best, and you do have to be sensitive to that as well, and understand that it is going to take time for them to adapt and open up to you, maybe compared to a kid that has grown up in a more summer camp oriented environment, a privileged background. But it's when you make those breakthroughs, there's no better feeling than when you can see that development. And also, well, just the fun part of it, like the amount of laughs I was able to have with these kids who are like I imagine we had this game at camp that was called Granny's Candy, which is basically, it sounds weird, okay, just going a little bit of a tangent, where it was the kids basically had to fight for water balloons off the counsellors, and if they got them, they got to throw them at us. I would get so competitive with that.
Oh no, that's what I was like, but it also made me more of a target for when they got to throw the water balloons at the counsellors at the end. But like these kids had never had like a water balloon before, and then I remember they were like, oh, what do we... It sounds weird.
Like, what do I do with this?
Never had this experience, and at the end they could not wait to fight me for them and just throw them all on me. And it was just those moments of joy, or
so fun.
The moments of reflection. So we had a campfire at the end of each camp where we all got given a twig, and you have to throw in about like what you learned when you were there.
I love that.
And the amount of I remember one kid again was like, "Oh, I've learned what it's like to be a kid," and that broke us all because he just never had the opportunity to throw. And he was like, "I've learned it," and then the connections to form with each other as well, like
the friendships.
The friendships again. When I returned the next year, there were kids that had been in the same camp before me, looked out for each other. That they wouldn't have had the opportunity maybe to meet kids because they might not, like if their school's so busy, they might only know the kids at school. They won't have like what's the term, like
you might feel a bit isolated.
Yeah, they might not do activities outside of school like sports teams or anything like that to meet other children as well. So them to sort of broaden out their communities and meet other children was fantastic as well. So.
Amazing. Yeah. I think one of the biggest kind of misconceptions speaking to people through the programme and obviously at camp fairs, the main reason a lot of people don't put underprivileged camps on their application is because I feel like people think that the camps have less activities and there's less resources, and I think that's a huge misconception. So it'd be great to chat to you about like the activities that your camp did and like what the kind of setup was, because I feel like when people imagine another underprivileged camp they kind of see it as like being a bit run down, not like having to kind of take, obviously there's a donation, the kind of charity side of things, but I feel like a lot of people are like, no, I want to go to a private camp, I want to have the same activities and opportunities. So what was your camp kind of set up like? What activities did you have?
That's a really good point actually, because again, when I first went underprivileged, I thought, again, they're not going to have the facilities, they're not going to be able to match what these grand camps are having. Our camp was, because it was a charity camp, it is well funded by celebrities. So we had Camp Mariah that was named after Mariah Carey because she funded it.
Oh my God.
We had Camp Tommy that was named after Tommy Hilfiger, is that his name? Him. Michelle Obama was a counsellor at my camp in the 80s.
Oh my God.
There's quite a lot. We had a lot of celebrities that went on to be like NBA players and stuff that came to the camp as well.
That is so
cool. It's an institution, it was well funded. So like you said, underprivileged doesn't mean like underdeveloped or under-resourced or anything like that. So we had so many things, like a farm. We're not going to get the cows and the sheep and the chickens there.
Yeah, my camp didn't have that.
Exactly, yeah. I didn't expect it when it turned up either. We had I've got the term for it, you know, when you look up at the stars in a big dome
Yeah, like a skylight.
observatory
Oh
skyline
my god,
where they
you had an observatory.
yeah, observatory, that was it. Yeah, so the kids could go and learn about space and go and like lie
Oh
down
my
in the comfy
god.
chairs and get taught about the moon landing and all that sort of stuff. We had like a massive lake. I was a sports coach and I was very well funded in terms of the sports I wanted to teach, so I could teach them all different kinds of sports. We had a really good rotation. Again, the emphasis on giving these kids opportunities they wouldn't have had before. So we didn't have the option for the kids to pick what they wanted to do, which was deliberate because these kids would have just gone and played basketball all day because that's what they're used to doing. It was to give them variation. So we had like IT courses, music courses, photography courses, arts courses. We even had like a creative writing one, drama, I could archery, high ropes, low ropes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love that you were saying this, and like one of the activities at my camp was nature, where we like lots of leaves.
We did that too. We had outdoor adventure as well. We could build like a little hut from sticks or whatever. My favorite one was hiking because the kids and like overnights and camping because the kids had never slept in nature before. So we had this viewpoint, which is probably my favorite place on earth because it was just like so many good memories there of like building campfires with the kids, and it was just such a beautiful look over the mountains and stuff. So getting the kids to hike up there was a challenge at first because these kids had never hiked before or been in nature before. They were scared of every insect at first, but when you got to the top and we lit the campfire and the campers set up like tents or slept outside in the cabin, which was a new experience, all like sleeping bags next to each other, and then like they had the s'mores before. We did chants and stuff and put them to bed and that.
Sweet.
Like it was again, those memories were fantastic. But as you said, underprivileged does not mean under-resourced. The campus had such a range of activities to join in, try new stuff. It was all about developing them, so giving them the chance to develop in whatever they want to develop into was very key. And if you go to an underprivileged camp, you're going to do as many activities as any other type of camp. So
that's great. I think that's so important that like that information's out there, because I know that that's something that is always kind of asked. Did you meet Mariah Carey when you were at camp? Were you in passing? Is there, if you were to go back to your
made
camp?
appearances, I'll say that. Yeah, I didn't like, the camp was across the lake from mine, so we didn't get, so we, from a distance.
I would have been like in the evening, like in a canoe on the
We did get free clothes from Tommy Hill.
Oh my god, that's so fun.
I got a backpack, I got like polo shirts and stuff on them as well.
Like
representing. So I came out with a more value of clothes and everything going in. The staff uniform was fantastic in that regard.
That's so funny.
So yeah, that was a cool benefit, I guess, sort of the celebrity influence as well.
But yeah, that's great. So I think it gives, as I say, a lot of people a lot more information about kind of underprivileged camps, and hopefully going into kind of 2024 now, everyone will be more kind of open-minded to kind of choosing that for a camp to go to for next year. And also everyone that's going to camp this year, I think, is going to be like, yes, Mariah Carey might be at camp. Or
I can't promise that if anyone's going back to that camp, spontaneous celebrity appearance.
But yeah, you would definitely recommend
100%. The best choice I ever made was walking into that campfire and going straight to that camp. The campers I met were fantastic. Like I said, the influence that hopefully I helped have in their lives, they've definitely influenced my life in the way the stories are told, the interactions with them. I feel like I'm much more just like, I guess I wasn't empathetic before, but after like sort of hearing their stories and about how summer camp can give them these opportunities, it just drove me to work so much harder to work for them and just be more grateful. Also, I do need to shout out all the staff that were at my camp at Camp the Markt. They were so compassionate, they were so patient. There's too many of these to name. We'll do credits at the end. They were so patient, they were so empathetic towards the kids.
That's so important.
They were, it's so important that you are giving you all that environment, and seeing their hard work really motivated me to work even harder for these children as well, in what can sometimes be difficult circumstances when you are placing a kid into a new environment. So if you go to an underprivileged camp, every summer camp has a real sense of community, but I felt like it is special at underprivileged camp, that you are all having this shared experience. It might be a once in a lifetime experience for these children, and you're doing your all to give them an experience of a lifetime. So if you're filling out an application for 2024, if you're going to a camp in 2023, please put down underprivileged, please embrace it. You will have the best time. I'll happily come on here again and answer any questions about the experience if you drop them in the comments. But yeah, I cannot sort of emphasize, I'll not be the person I am today working for AmeriCamp talking about camp on a podcast if I didn't have this experience at underprivileged camp.
Amazing.
So yeah, 100% put it down and go for it.
And I've given you like a lot of insight into, you're obviously going to a new camp this year, so it's like, I feel like if anything you'll be so
well prepared. Definitely.
Which is amazing. Great. Well, I've loved learning a bit more about underprivileged camps. I had no idea, so this has been fab.
I love talking about it. Again, I could talk for hours, as anyone can on summer camp working at AmeriCamp. But yeah, again, just emphasize again, please put it down. Do not ignore it as an option. You will have the best time if you go to one. So,
well, thank you so much for listening, guys. It's been a really fun episode. Yes. Maybe a new dynamic duo.
We could do. I feel like every duo is going to be dynamic in some way. So whoever's next on the podcast, they can be the new dynamic duo.
Exactly. Let us know what you want to hear next. We'll be rolling out episodes every week throughout the summer as well. So thank you so much, guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.